The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Let's talk about the state of the Jets roster. We know a new GM and a new coach are coming in. How many building blocks are actually on this team? We'll get into that and much more. Boy Green joins us. He's back. He had another kid, and he's ready to talk Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Before we get started, please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We are well over 40,000 subscribers. We want to keep growing and growing, and we're in this together, Jet fans. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and like the video, and you might be eligible to get a channel membership gifted your way. Shout out to everyone on Patreon. Can't thank the Patreon audience enough. If you want to support me, patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. It includes access to the Discord, discounts on the merch store, your name added to the intro, bonus shows, and a whole lot more. Check it out, patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Thank you to Victor, Paul, Meadowman, Justin, and Tom for being our most recent Patreon subscribers. Joining us right now in his weekly spot, but for the first time in a few weeks, because he just had a new child. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Boy Green Esden Jr. Hello, Paul.
What is going on, Jakey? 40K. Aaron Rodgers is 40. There's a lot of 40 happening here in Jets land.
There's also a lot of losing, Boy Green. A lot of losing.
Yeah, a lot of losing. It's, I think even in the worst case scenarios of people before the season, if you would have told me that Aaron Rodgers is fully healthy and you take a peek at some of the box score numbers, you're like, okay, we're in the playoffs, AFC East, Thanksgiving. Okay, here we go. All this hoopla. And it's been an epic disaster, Jake, that none of us could have possibly predicted to this level, especially with all the health. You know, there's been a couple of injuries with Jermaine and a couple other guys, obviously, this year. But to have Aaron healthy, to have this team, and for the head coach to be fired, GM to be fired, and to be 3-8 is it's a bitter pill to swallow.
Well, you make a great point, because if I would have told you before the year, hey, Aaron Rodgers at the bye week would have 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He would not miss a snap, right? He came out week 1, but that was because the game was a blowout. He would not miss a snap due to injury. What would the Jet record be? If I just told you he's playing every game, he has not missed any snaps due to injury, and his stat line at the bye was 17 touchdowns, 7 picks, what would the Jet record be? If I said to you, are they more likely to be 3-8 or 8-3? I think most Jet fans would say, oh, they're 8-3 at the bye, which is what a lot of us thought they'd be.
100%. It's funny that we flipped the 3-8. 8-3 is what the Jets were with Brett Favre. In 2008, that was the start to the season. That's where everyone's talking Super Bowl, path to the number 1 seed, and everything with the New York Jets. So, yeah, I would have been like 3-8. Why is that even an option, Jake? Obviously, they're 8-3, and unfortunately, here we are. It's just it's been painful, brutal. It's the most disappointing Jets season in the history of this franchise when you consider all the expectations heading in.
No doubt. Now, as far as this roster goes, I mean, we know there's going to be a new GM, but the reason why we were so bullish on this team is because there still is some real talent here. When we talk about building blocks for this next regime, Boy Green, who are the guys you look at and go, yep, there's a reason why this job's attractive, because you have these players on it. Give me some of the guys that you still believe in on this team.
Well, we could start from a foundational piece, the guys that are on the rookie contracts. Jermaine Johnson, I know he's coming off, obviously, a serious injury. How is he not on that list? Sauce Gardner, obviously, this year has been a rough watch and a rough social media. Maybe you're the next Jets content creators coming after, Jake, so make sure you prepare yourself accordingly. Our poor Matt O'Leary, cornerback 1, in there in the social media streets. Breece Hall to me, Garrett Wilson, those guys, no surprise. Those 4 rookie contract guys that are there. And even beyond that, you have second and third level contract guys that are key pieces to me. We talk about Quentin Williams. We talk about Quincy Williams, Michael Carter II. Like, there is a batch of guys. And John Simpson, man, shout out to John Simpson with how great he's looked this year. AVT is under contract for obviously the rest of 2024 and his fifth-year option for 2025. So he's part of that batch that's still available there for the New York Jets. So you've got multi-layered. You've got the young core, that's all the rookies. You have the second and third year players, or second and third contract players, of the Quincy's, who's going to be due for another deal. Michael Carter II's locked in. If you really evaluate the full pie for the New York Jets and look at it here, the New York Jets have a great batch, a great foundation of talent. It's going to be on a coach coming in here and being able to cultivate it, because someone mentioned it earlier in the comment section. Paul, it's coaching. It's coaching is the reason why this Jets team is 3-8 to 8-3. That to me is the ultimate difference here. And if there was a coach that got the juice out of the orange here, the Jets would be 8-3. The fact is, this coaching staff has done the opposite. They've gotten the least amount of juice out of this orange, which is perhaps the most damning thing for Jet fans.
It truly reminds me of the Chargers a year ago with Staley, how somehow with that quarterback and the talent they had, they were that bad. And I think it's similar with the Jets. Now, the difference is the Jet quarterback situation is a giant unknown. So you can't call Aaron Rodgers, a foundational building block right now. And I do think, though, his future is very much up in the air, Boy Green, because I know there's a lot of reports saying, oh, he's not going to be back. A lot could change over the final 6 weeks. If he's healthy coming out of the bye and plays well, and I'm talking about where it's clearly like he's Aaron Rodgers again, or close to what we saw in that home opener that you and I were at against New England, it could sway some things. So I think all these people who just speculate, oh, there's no way he's coming back, still a lot of football left, man. That's what's so crazy about this season. All this has happened, and there's still 6 games to go.
And it's a double sandwich. So not only if we see this pop from Aaron Rodgers through the final 6 games, but when you look at who's going to be available, Sam Darnold, is he coming back here? I don't think so. Russell Wilson, if his old ass continues to play well for Pittsburgh, they're keeping him in Steelers town. And then Daniel Jones? I think not. Derek Carr, absolutely keep that car in the garage. I want no piece of that action. And then you start going draft, maybe? They have the Jets have the 6th overall pick right now. Are you going youngster? Is that youngster immediately starting guy? Tyrod Taylor? I mean, you start looking through. It's a combination of both how Aaron Rodgers finishes the season and if he wants to return to the game of football, which he's indicated he does in the past, and also the lack of options that are available from the 2025 quarterback field. Justin Fields, another one that someone threw in there. That's an interesting dart throw, I guess. If we're in hell, okay, why not? I guess at least try to have some fun while the Jets are playing football in 2025. But there is major question marks at quarterback, not named Aaron Rodgers, which could ultimately lead the Jets back down the golden brick road of why not Rodgers again.
Yeah, you look at the cap ramifications is what I keep coming back to. If he's here next year, you're talking about having to now deal with $63 million, either all in one in 2026 if you cut him, or spread out over 2026 and 2027. If you decide you're moving off of Aaron Rodgers at the end of this season, you could take a dead cap hit all in one, $49 million, or spread it out $14 million and then $35 million. So has Aaron Rodgers played well enough right now to justify dealing with at some point a significant cap hit in either 2026 of $63 million or $42 million, just all in 2027? I don't think the answer right now is yes. I don't think you could justify it, right? Originally, when they redid his deal, you understood what they were doing. They were going to get last year, this year, and next year of Aaron Rodgers with a minimum cap hit. Because next year's cap hit's only $23 million, which is great. If he was playing really well, that'd be one of the best bargains in the league. But right now, he's not playing well. And I don't know if we could sit here and say he's that much better than what Tyrod would be, right? I still think he's better than Tyrod Taylor. I think some Jet fans overrate Tyrod. But, my point is the fact that it's even a discussion, that's why you can't bring him back, because if we don't know, if the answer's not clearly yes, he's the best option you have by far, I don't think you could justify it when you look at what the cap ramifications are.
Yeah, there's been too many games this season where you're like, what the? Like Houston, he had 30 yards passing in the first half. And I know he had the terrific second half at 30 yards. We didn't sign up for that crap for Aaron Rodgers. Go to the game this week prior to the bye against the Colts. Outside of a minute 30 left in the first half, he had the same sort of thing, like 30, 40 yards pass, and then he exploded, had the great drive, and then they started getting some momentum, Anthony Richardson turnover, and all of a sudden they started getting on top of teams. But, the Aaron Rodgers experience has stunk. And again, box score wise, he's done a really good job of just kind of the Jets have had to pass a lot that's got to be factored in to the numbers that we've been putting together here. But, again, you have to evaluate what's there. But the fact that we're having legitimate conversation about, Tyrod, would it be better? Could we be doing this with that? I mean, that's disgusting. That sucks that we're having these honest and brutally painful conversations about this. But to your point, there's 7 weeks left, 6 games left for the New York Jets. There's a lot of season left. And again, we don't know who the hell the GM or head coach is going to be. So how could we possibly have these finality statements of Rodgers is gone, Rodgers is staying? No one knows, honestly.
And I know, for example, Rex Ryan, who's been campaigning to be the Jet head coach again, of course, but he had said in a previous interview that he'd want Rodgers to be his quarterback next year, assuming Rodgers was all in and he'd be willing to run a modern offense. That's Rex's big thing. He's like, the Jets offense stinks. It's outdated. I know what they're running without even having to watch any prep going into the week. So would Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to come back, is he going to come back and be willing to learn a new offense? If he says he's not, well, then you just move on from him. And you know what? Even if he says he is, that doesn't mean you necessarily have to keep him when you look at the cap ramifications here. And it's a shame because I have no regrets about the Jets pursuing him and making the move. It was the right move at the right time. It was the only move Joe Douglas could have made to try and rectify the Zach Wilson situation with the team as talented as they were a few years ago. But it hasn't worked. And I go back to him getting hurt 4 plays in a year ago. I think that did critical damage to not just him as an athlete and his explosiveness as a player, but the whole timeline was thrown off because everyone got mulligans last year, whereas if he played last year and wasn't playing great, I think we would have sold ourselves on, hey, let's get him a real coach. Let's get a real staff in here. Maybe Mike Vrabel or Jim Harbaugh's coaching this team this year, and we're not 3-8 this year. But everyone getting a mulligan last year threw off the entire timeline, and it's no one's fault that he got hurt. It just sucks, and only the Jets that it happens.
No, yeah, 1,000%. And that's ultimately where we're at, is that injury did happen. And now everything was thrown off. And now we're in the unfortunate position right now that we're in here with Aaron Rodgers. And the good thing that I like is how Aaron Rodgers' contract is set up. Obviously, the dead cap is the dead cap. That's going to happen no matter what. But it's not Aaron Rodgers saying, hey, I'm going into another darkness retreat. Jets, see you in 4 months. And the Jets are like, geez, what are we going to do? The Jets control the narrative. There is no more guaranteed money left. They can cut him and just deal with the cap ramifications that exist, and they can make their own decision. So that's the good news, is when this new regime comes in, it's not some weird, hey, are they going to FaceTime or phone call Aaron Rodgers? We know exactly what's going to happen because the Jets control that narrative moving forward. That has not been the case with Aaron Rodgers the last bunch of years in Green Bay. His contract allowed him to control the narrative and make some of those key decisions. That's not the case here with the Jets.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. We're talking with Boy Green about the state of the Jets. Now, you look at the roster, right? A lot of talk about Sauce Gardner, and he has not been good for his standards this year. I still think we overblow, his struggles. If you look at some of the advanced metrics and coverage, you still have very good cover corner. The tackling, though, it's a problem. Some of the stuff on social media I don't love. I really hope Sauce can reset himself here after the bye and remind people why he was most Jet fans' favorite player, especially among young kids. You see any young kid, they always have the Sauce jersey. So I hope he can get back on track. But what are your thoughts on his future with the team? Me personally, I'm not trading him when his value would be this low. I would hope a new staff would come in and realize this guy has been great in the league before. Let's coach him up. Let's get his confidence back, and he can return to that guy. Your thoughts on Sauce's future with this team?
We are perfectly aligned. All these people are saying, I'm trading Sauce immediately. Coming off his worst year? What? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you just light an asset on fire like that? That, to me, makes no sense. And plus, it's not proper team building to be jettisoning off guys that we thought were key premium parts of this team moving forward. Sauce Gardner is incredibly talented. I don't believe this is some sort of Space Jam situation and all his superpowers have been sapped and he's just a shitty player now that can't be on a roster. The tackling has sucked. It's been a really tough thing for Jet fans to swallow, to just see lackadaisical effort, lackadaisical technique, and everything from that nature, and that Sauce has been quote-unquote exposed in a lot of ways. He's 100% still part of my future, and we see it all the times where a player is whatever they are and with one coach, and then a new coach comes in and all of a sudden, booyah, they jump to another level. And it's not as if we just have to pretend and put on these fairy tale glasses and imagine what maybe Sauce could be. We saw how good he could be through his first 2 seasons. So to me, absolutely zero trade anything. As you see with the Jamal Adams trade, you always have to leave the phone on because you never know what someone's going to do. But the theme that is prevalent among so many Jet fans, of course, we're trading him this offseason, get whatever you can from him, move on, is absolutely, utterly ridiculous, especially coming off this. This is his worst, easily, season of his NFL career. The Jets will get shitty value on it. And plus, they have his rights for both this year and the Jets have to make the fifth-year option decision on Sauce Garrett and Jermaine Johnson. That all comes in early May. And if they accept those options, they will have team control over all three of those players for the next 2 years. Plus, we can play the franchise game tag after that. The Jets have all the control here. There's no worry to rush while they can begin contract negotiations. My guess would be Sauce isn't going to talk contract. Why would he? Coming off his worst year, he'd be in a tough position from a negotiation standpoint. If I'm Sauce, I'm saying last year was a blip. I'm going to kick ass in 2025, and then I'm going to ask for my bag or ask for it in the middle of a great run. I don't think we're getting that. Some crazy demands here this offseason. I think that'd be bonkers.
Yeah, to your point on contracts, you pick up the fifth-year options on each of those guys. I mean, this franchise did it with AVT, which
Right.
He hasn't earned a new contract, but he's still good when he plays. So you picked it up. He's under contract for one more year. You do that with the 2022 guys for sure. But the only guy I would definitely hammer out an extension with is Garrett Wilson, because I feel like Garrett has played well enough where, unlike Sauce, if Garrett wants to be paid and he doesn't get the money he wants, that's when you get the trade request and things get bad. And I want Garrett Wilson to play his entire career with this team because I think he'll be the best receiver they've ever had if that happens. So I want Garrett Wilson extended. I think he's earned it. He's a leader. He gives a crap. That's the kind of guy I want to build my franchise around. That's the one guy I'm paying this offseason.
Yeah, when you look at the foursome, which again, we're also including Brees, who's the second-round pick. Jermaine's coming off the injury. For obvious reasons, you're not doing anything with that outside of accepting the fifth-year option, in my opinion. So we put Jermaine in a pot. I just mentioned Sauce coming off his worst year. He'd be crazy to ask for his money now and try to hammer it out with the Jets. If so, the Jets, I would think, are going to get a good deal at corner because there's no way he's going to be the highest-paid corner in football coming off this year. So let's put Sauce aside. That leaves you with two. That leaves you with Brees Hall, which, again, with the running backs, I don't know how the Jets are going to play it. That also depends on the new regime coming in, how they value running back, whether he is going to be getting that kind of crazy money or we go to the Garrett thing. And Garrett is on pace to be right there with Brandon Marshall, the historic 2015 season, 109 catches, the most receptions we've ever had from a wide receiver in a single season. And Garrett right now is on pace for 107. And who knows if he maybe gets an extra bump, maybe he can break the all-time single season reception record for the Jets. I am 1,000% paying Garrett. It'll be interesting to see what's the market. Justin Jefferson's at the top at $35 million per year. Will Garrett settle in around 30? Because you got to kind of compare him to the Jamar Chases who are going to get paid. Lamb just got paid and things of that nature. My gut would probably say like a 4-year, 120 million, 30 per, and then all of a sudden you lock him in. I think Garrett's awesome. I think Garrett's proved that. He's had some crazy moments this season, and I just think, as we've said this entire time, with consistent quarterback play, Garrett Wilson is going to be the superstar receiver we've all said. So he's the one. I agree with you 100%. If I'm paying anybody, it's Garrett. Maybe there's a case for Brees to do the Jonathan Taylor thing, but I'd probably assume that they're going to ride that out too. So Garrett's probably the only one you pay this offseason.
Yeah, and if you are going to pay Brees, I mean, you look at what the franchise tag would be, and you basically guarantee him those years up front, and you might sign it for the security, like the Jonathan Taylor thing, as you brought up. Could
be. Absolutely. You could do essentially what the Saquon Barkley was going to be with the Giants, but he didn't accept that deal. But basically, franchise tag. He gets financial security, and the Jets get him at a pretty decent deal because Christian McCaffrey has reset the market twice. He was the highest paid running back at $16 million per year. The new deal puts him at $19 million per, but the franchise tag is that top 5 average. So you're not even getting it anywhere near that range, which is in the 11-12. I'm totally copacetic with paying that to Brees.
All right, some super chats are coming in, then we'll talk more about the GM and coach for this team going forward. Our guy, Chef Kevin, his YouTube name is Fastest Food Reviews. I'm rocking the Cloverleaf Tavern hat. That's where Chef Kevin is the lead chef at. My guys, Jake and Boy Green, thank you for the great Jet content. Jake, thanks for the continued Cloverleaf support. Our team isn't good, but you guys are gems. It's sad that the Jets have way more great content creators than wins over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm proud of that. And then I'm proud of Jake, who's gotten 40K. We got Matt, and we got Jet Central. We got like 1 million people. I'm going to miss people by naming them, but which speaks to the point. We have so much great The Jet fans deserve better. We deserve that great season. This is about to be season 14 of no playoffs, one winning season in those 14 seasons. It's pathetic. It's disgusting. And the fact that we've been able to consistently put up great content is awesome, but I wish the team would reward that loyalty and that patience with the great season we all deserve. And now it might take a little bit more time before we get what we need.
Vladdy P with a $10 super chat. Rossini is a female dog, while Rosenblatt is her more than willing pup. I, for one, will not trust those two, especially her. She hates A-Rod and the Jets. Shove it where the sun don't shine. So Vladdy P, anti the Athletic story. Boy Green, your thoughts?
Here's the thing I was super annoyed by. So to me, in the Athletic piece, there's two eyebrow catching things. Number one, wow, Woody Johnson knows who Tony Adams is. That was hilarious. and the second thing was like, what? He was going to bench Aaron Rodgers after week 4? I'm like, good Lord. Like, wow, that would have been bonkers. Rich Cimini said on your show, like, that would have been the dumbest thing the Jets have ever done. And so I read that in the piece. I'm like, wow, that is startling news. And then Zach and Diana Rossini apparently are doing media for the article. So they're doing all kinds of different hits. And Johnny Boy calls my show and says, hey, I just heard Diana Rossini do an ESPN radio hit, and she talked more about that benching. I said, oh, well, do tell. Let us know what it was on a Boy Green Daily this week. And she said, well, the benching was about injury for Aaron to get healthy. And to me, that's incredibly shady to say it in the article and give the impression that we were going to bench Aaron Rodgers for shitty play, but it wasn't for shitty play at all. It was Woody saying, hey, maybe we should bench him so he can get healthy, is apparently how Diana Rossini described it on the ESPN radio interview. And I find that incredibly slimy because I don't think that is, if that was true, you should have put that in the piece because that's a totally different perception to me of the whole Woody Johnson, Aaron Rodgers benching story, which, by the way, Aaron Rodgers is eventually going to comment on after this bye week when he has the Pat McAfee show and media opportunities in the locker room. To me, that totally changes it. So I hate how that piece of it was portrayed, which then all of a sudden brings question to the rest of the piece. If they did that for that, what else did they do that for? Which hurts because I really like Zach Rosenblatt. I've had him on my show. You've had him on your show. But like that to me seems really shitty.
Well, what's strange about the articles, right? Oh, Woody suggested benching Rodgers. They don't listen to him. Then he plays bad against the Vikings, throws 3 picks in that game, including one when they're driving to try and steal the win at the end. And not only does he not bench Aaron Rodgers, they then fire the head coach. Mm-hmm. And then while the head coach is being fired and they're playing Monday Night Football the following week against the Bills, the Adams trade had already been done earlier that day. No one knew about it yet. So he wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers, and then a week and a half later, he went out there and acquired his best friend in a trade and paid up front to get Devontae here so they could lower his cap hit. Like, it's very odd. I'm not sitting here saying Woody has not meddled. Clearly he has. It was his decision, as we all know, to fire the head coach 5 games in. But that article reads to me like a bunch of disgruntled guys like Saleh, Douglas, their agents, giving the Athletic some insight here, because when the sink is shipping, people want their story out there so they can have a landing spot for where they go next. And that's how the article reads. I mean, this idea that Joe Douglas didn't get enough time or somehow Woody prevented him from making the moves he wanted. I mean, the resume for Joe Douglas speaks for itself. He's 30-64, 0 winning seasons, no playoff appearances. They won 7 games, 3 separate times. That was the high win total mark, 7. They picked in the top 11 and 4 of the top 5 NFL drafts. And while Douglas certainly did some good things, he hit on some big players in the draft. Mm-hmm. He hit on no one other than Michael Carter outside the top 45 that's a true impact player on this team. He didn't do enough. He missed on Wilson, he missed on Becton, and the biggest mistake he made, you could argue, was Robert Saleh as the head coach. He had more than enough time. It was time for a change.
Yeah, I hated that headline. The headline, I believe, from The Athletic on that Joe Douglas piece was like, he never had a chance, and get the fuck out of here. Excuse my Guatemalan. Yeah. But come on, man. 6 years? We can blame Woody for a lot of shit, and there's a lot of Jet fans that wish he would sell the team. Patience. Look at, outside of Adam Gase, who only got 2 years, everyone else had chances, man. Bowles, Saleh was in the middle of year 4 going through his stuff. Douglas would have had his full 100 games in 6 years. Woody has faults. Patience is not one of them. He gives time to the people to make sure they can work out their crap. So The Joe Douglas narrative job of that Woody Johnson's the worst owner in sports. He's the one who's meddled so much. Joe Douglas, as Todd McShay and all his best friends are saying in the media, like he's this perfect GM, but the owner is the one that sabotaged all this shit. Come on, man. It's about winning games. And he sucked. He didn't do well enough. Saleh, same thing. I'm seeing all that campaign after the fact of like, see, Saleh wasn't the problem. He wasn't the fucking solution. He was 16 games under 500 as a head coach. We could talk about timing. That's kind of weird. Firing after week 5. It's kind of weird firing GM when he did. Timing, we can argue about. But the decision, we can't. Both of them stunk at their jobs, and now the Jets are looking for brand new replacements.
Yeah, look, it's unfortunate. I mean, and look, if we all could press a button and get different ownership here, I think every Jet fan would. But the bottom line is this: Woody has been patient, and they haven't won. And I think now what he needs to sell on the people they bring in is that you're going to have full autonomy, like the previous guys did, until it got out of hand. And to me, it all comes down to, can they hire the right people, Boy Green? Because I use the Knicks example with James Dolan all the time. James Dolan's not this great owner now. No Knick fans chanting sell the team at Dolan like they were for years. The reason, because he hired 2 people that are running his franchise, and Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau, and the Knicks have become a championship contender, and they have built it the right way. That's what the Jets need. Like, they need Woody to either get lucky and hire the right people, or Woody's got to be smart and bring in people that can help him identify the right people for these jobs.
Yeah, that's why I'm so intrigued, and I hope it's true. There's been a lot of people kind of talking about it. This director of football ops, with Woody likely going away for this political thing. I don't believe that's official yet. You have him going away. I don't like what I saw during Christopher Johnson's first run, and the motivational speech is, well, he learned a lot from the first time. Good to know. Keep it to yourself. I'd rather have a smart football mind who knows football that's running the ship at the top, and then they work to hire a GM, and then they work together to hire a head coach. We need structure. We need a pyramid. We need organization, and it would be great to start zigging after all this zagging. It has not worked with the Woody Johnson chance. It didn't work the first time with Christopher Johnson, and then this bullshit of like, well, Christopher hired the guys, Woody didn't, and then there's like this awkwardness. No. Let's everyone be on board. Let's hire the right thing, and then let's go through it. That's why I'm so intrigued, like I said, with this director of football ops, so that there is a clear guy that's at the top. It's not Christopher running it. It's a football person that you've hired to organize all of this and have it run through. Again, everyone's talked about that's what the Jets need. I just hope the Jets listen, and that's something they actually do this offseason.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're always seeking channel memberships. They help pay the bills, and we pay it forward to the listeners. And Rick Kent, who has his own emoji because he's a big-time supporter of the show, he just gifted what we like to call a 5-spot.
Money.
All right, here we go. Sauce, Aaron Natan, Doug Williams, Rex Reeser, and Ike Got Next Show, all receiving a channel membership from the great Rick Kent. Rick, we thank you for your support. Terrence with a Boy Green super chat.
Ooh.
On your channel, Paul. He says, love listening to both of you guys. Go Jets. Appreciate that, Terrence. PBM writes in Purple Belt Mike, realistic to expect the Jets to get DT, SS, FS, TE, T, DE, LB, resign Moses, Sherwood, Quincy, and a quarterback in free agency in the draft. New GMs, hands full. I mean, the roster will look different, but a third of your roster changes over every year. So, yeah, I think you'll be able to address all that between draft and free agency for sure.
Yeah, again, it's going to be a balance. New GMs and head coaches, for that matter, like bringing in parts from their old places. And there is massive turnover because I think the Jets have somewhere between 21 and 26 free agents. That's both restricted and unrestricted that are leaving out. Plus, there's guys like Michael Clemens, who I don't think is long here for New York, who's technically under contract. It doesn't fit in that category. So there's a lot of things to do. But again, when you balance out all the pieces they do have, I think that helps the balance. Plus, the Jets have their full complement of picks. They have a first rounder, they have a second rounder, they have a third rounder, they have a fourth rounder, 2 5th and 2 6th. The Jets have plenty of ammunition to do what they need to do this offseason.
Yeah, I feel like when you look at like the narrative that surrounds the Jets is that, oh, they sold their soul for Rodgers and they, the cover's bare. They could have up to $80 million in cap space if they move on from Rodgers and Devontae in the offseason, a couple other like obvious cuts. Mm-hmm. And to your point, yes, they traded a third rounder for Devontae. They had 2 third rounders. So they still have a first, a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh. It's not like they're bereft of draft picks. This is not the Jets going full Cleveland Browns and trading, 3 ones to get Deshaun
Right.
Watson and guaranteeing him a contract that they're stuck with. Like, it will suck to deal with a $49 million dead cap hit next year if that's what they decide to do with Rodgers, or maybe they spread it out over 2 years for financial flexibility. But like, that's really it. Like, at the end of the day, this is not crippling the franchise long term. They were bad before Aaron Rodgers. If they're bad after him, it's not because they made the Aaron Rodgers trade. It's because they tried it and it didn't work.
And plus, the inspirational thing for the Jets should be the Denver Broncos with Russell Wilson had the largest dead cap hit ever. Now Daniel Jones is not going to top it, but it will rival it. I believe his next 2 cap hits for this year and next year are going to be like 2 and 7 on the all-time list. And the Broncos are in the thick of the playoff race. They figured it out. They're eating the dead cap and still succeeding. So it's not this death nail that the Jets are just screwed because if they potentially, again, depending on what they do with Rodgers, eat this dead cap hit, doesn't mean that they're screwed next year. Teams can overcome it, teams will overcome it, and teams are literally overcoming it this season, like the Denver Broncos in the AFC.
Omar says, hello from a rainy Bay Area. Let's go Jets.
Remember, for 14 months, that is an investment, baby. Wow.
We have the best listeners, man. We really do. The Asmaniacs are the best, even in times of despair, which is what I would describe this Jets season right now.
That's accurate. That's
unreal. Unreal. Dante says, I'm one of the few fans who believes most of the article. It's not hard to believe this idiot owner was actively meddling. Clearly he meddled. I mean, we could see it, but my pushback would be the article reads like Joe Douglas never had a chance to be a good GM here.
Correct.
He had more opportunities than most with he lost 2/3 of his game. And many of us still were like, we got to give him this year because Rodgers got hurt last year, when in reality, if Woody wanted to move on at the end of last year, he wouldn't have been wrong for it. My big thing was that you either keep both Saleh and Douglas or you fire both of them. He gave them a mulligan. The mistake was, if you're only going to give Saleh 5 games, you should have been fired at the end of last year.
100%. And think about all the mistakes. GMs don't get multiple whacks at the banana. So he effed up the Zach Wilson pick. Then the Jets are like, oh boy, we got to go in a different direction. Okay, crazy Aaron Rodgers trade. He had the Sam Darnold. Remember, he came when Sam Darnold was still here. He took over the 2019 team, and then in 2020, and then they said, oh boy, what are we going to do? Are we going
remember
to
what he said, Boy Graham? He said he was going to build around Darnold, and he was going to protect Darnold. And he apparently, Rich Cimini said this on this podcast before, that Douglas, when he was with the Eagles, when he graded the quarterbacks, when he was doing draft evaluation for them, Darnold was his number 1 guy on his board that year. So he was thrilled to take over the Jets with Darnold because he believed in Darnold. They failed to put a team around Darnold. Gase was a mess. The offense stunk. They're obviously moving on from Sam. So he had 2 young quarterbacks that he couldn't get right. And then he made the Hail Mary for Rodgers. It was the right move. It didn't work. So ultimately, between that and the head coaching hire, at what point do you say, you know what? He had enough time to turn it around. It didn't work.
Yeah, and I hate when people keep saying that Joe Douglas is not responsible for the record. He hired the coaches, man. If Robert Saleh sucks, that's on his hands. That's the blood on his hands for Robert Saleh's thinking. And you just saying, oh, well, he got all the talent. Again, you got to give credit. And I heard you, Jake, earlier this week, one of your shows, talk about the accumulation of talent is there, and that's a tip of the cap for Joe Douglas, but that's not enough. That's not where the job starts and ends. There's a lot more to the GMing job than just collecting talent. It's helping put all those pieces together and hiring the right coaches to get the most out of that talent, and Joe Douglas failed.
You almost forget how long Douglas has been here, right? Because like he had Darnold for 19 and 20. Like that's how, like he was here when Gase was here, and like he got all like it's a long time he was here, and this team has not sniffed winning. And the thing I always point to, right, their season high in wins under Douglas is 7. But if you go look a little further, the 7-9 year in 2019, which wasn't his team when he got there in June after the drafted free agency. That was the highest winning percentage year because it was 7-9. It was still a 16-game season then before it became, the classic 7-10s that we've seen with the Jets the last 2 years. And here's the other thing too with Douglas, right? Like you look at what he was given and the opportunities he had. Think back to the 2022 draft class, right? His best class by far. Look at the players or the teams in the top 5 that year, Paul. Number 1 was Jacksonville. As bad as they have been, and they might have the number 1 pick in the draft for the 3rd time in 5 years. They won a playoff game a few years ago, made the playoffs and won a playoff game. The number 2 team that year was the Detroit Lions. They're a model franchise right now, a legit Super Bowl contender in the NFC title game a year ago. Number 3 that year, the Houston Texans. They won a playoff game, won the division last year. They're going to win the division probably again this year and be in the playoffs. The Jets picked 4 that year, haven't sniffed anything. And as bad as the Giants have been and currently are, even Daniel Jones, Brian Dable and Joe Shane made the playoffs and won a playoff game. So all these teams in the top 5 of the Jets' best draft under Douglas, they've all figured it out for at least 1 year before being bad again in the case of the Giants or the Jaguars. The Jets haven't sniffed the postseason. Haven't sniffed it.
No sniffing of the playoffs. No sniffing of even a winning record, man. We have one winning record of the last 14 seasons, including this year. It was 2015, the 10-6 year, and we didn't even make the playoffs that year. Like, come on, man. The bar is set so low, and Joe Douglas failed to clear it. So the Joe Douglas truthers in the audience, you got to get over yourselves.
The Joe Douglas truthers. Just call out Mr. Bonesy by name next time, why don't you? He's going through it, man. Sad. Yeah. Comments, questions, super chats, cut the line. Henny writes in, Paul Sr. thinks we would be 8-3 with Derek Carr. Does he actually?
Well, he has said throughout this whole thing of like, say I was right on Rodgers. Rodgers sucks, this and that. And hey, maybe he gets his wish. If the Saints cut Derek Carr, maybe that's where the Jets go. What a bizarre world that will be. We'll get the Martini Nate photos again with him taking Derek Carr out. Maybe my father gets what he wanted the whole time, and Derek Carr is renewed here with the Jets.
If Derek Carr is the Jet quarterback next year, what are we doing? What are we doing?
That's exactly what the effort we do. And oh my God, if he's the guy and we give him some crazy deal,
there's no way.
I hope not. I hope if we dip our toe into any of those Jameis Winston, Justin Fields, anything, I hope it's just a 1 year. Hey, this year we have no idea what this is going to be. Let's get our Josh McCown, and Tyrod Taylor, whatever you want to call that quarterback room. If Rodgers doesn't come back, let's ride up this year. Another high draft pick, probably sucky season, and then Arch Manning time, I guess, in 2026. I guess that's a conversation. I hope that's the plan at quarterback. If Rodgers isn't here, you get someone for 1 year rental with Tyrod or something, and then you ride out whatever that is, take your lumps, eat all the dead cap this year, ride the boat, and just be ready for 2026.
If you want to call in, open phone lines. We'll take your calls on the Gusbuster hotline. The VZ Super Chat says, Joe Douglas gutted the D-line. I hated that. Good show, guys. Yeah, I mean, look, well, for all the good Douglas did, to me, what he did with the D-line this year is criminal. The Hassan Reddick trade is one of the worst in franchise history. I don't care if Reddick was unreasonable. You had Clowney in your building. You had Huff. Also, conveniently, now the athletic story is, he wanted to sign Huff and Woody. Okay. I'm not buying that necessarily. And then the other thing, too, last year, if he got a better backup quarterback once Rodgers went down, I understand a little bit. I was never on board with Zach being the backup. But if their plan was, look, if Rodgers gets hurt and only misses 2 or 3 games, we're fine with Zach playing those games. All right. I don't agree with it, but I'll listen to that. But you knew 4 plays in, the year was over for him, and you did nothing. And last year's team was better than this year's team. They actually were a good defense. They actually had a kicker who couldn't miss. If they had a better backup after week 1, found someone, they could have made the playoffs last year, and Douglas would still probably have a job right now if they broke the playoff drought last year. He didn't do it. And then this year, the kicking situation was very similar. He neglected to get a kicker when it was obvious Zerline lost it. It cost him anywhere from 2 to 3 games, depending on how you want to prognosticate it. And once again, these were too many mistakes for this GM to overcome.
You said exactly the words. Took it right out of my mouth. The quarterback thing last year, unacceptable with how he handled that. And then the kicker thing this year. By the time they finally had this made-up Greg Zuerlein injury to put him on IR, the season was already lost. It was too late. Things were hanging in the balance earlier in the year. Joe Douglas could have changed his own fate if he would have gotten off his ass and did something. Even those 2 examples, let alone everything else that he's messed up, those 2 things, he didn't move. The Jets lose. The season's over.
The pain never ends. AD writes in, Paul Sr. hates Rodgers with the passion of 1,000 burning suns.
That is true. I don't know why, but I wish we could have, had this great montage, the Robert Saleh receipts. I wish we could have had something from my father. And now all we have is a lost season in 2023 and everything that's happened this year. So unfortunately, he's going to be the one doing the pelvic thrust, not me.
He's a Cowboys fan. His team stinks too.
That's true. I guess we're all mired in mediocrity together.
Oh, man. Jayco said, what happened to all the viewers? Did Boy Green scare them away? Oh, they're in here, baby. They're in here. We got over 300 people watching on my channel. Paul's got a bunch on his as we simulcast these weekly hits. Now, Boy Green, you dealt with a hernia injury. You're still dealing with a hernia injury. What's been more painful, the hernia situation or watching the Jets this year?
It's definitely the Jets. And because I don't know how it is for you, Jake. That's an interesting question we could kind of, explore after I give this answer here about how you're watching these last 6 games. But for me, no matter what horrible thing happens, like to me, I feel like the season was truly lost in that second New England game where you blew that. And obviously you had the Pittsburgh game, you had all these ones. But like after that, I'm like, it's not going to happen. And then by the time the next game gets here, I'm like, wait a second here. We can do this thing. Let's go on a run. We can win 10 games. Oh, and I looked it up. I'm like, okay, every team that's won 10 games over the last 3 years has made the playoffs. Boom, the path is there, baby. Let's do this. And then they'd lose. I'm like, Jesus, tankathon. What are we doing here? And then by the next game, okay, let's do this thing. So maybe I'm going to do that once again by the time we get to Seattle. But, that's been the painful part is I keep getting myself back up, and they've only given me the Texans game, and all the rest of them have just been these wild teases. So, Jake, there's 6 games left. There's 7 weeks left in the season. How are you looking at these final 6 games? Are you apathetic? Are you not? Are you fully in and you're riding the highs and lows? Or are you just deplugged and say, hey, whatever the fuck happens? Like, how is Jake Asman watching these 6 games?
Yeah, for me, I'm still rooting for wins at this point, but if they lose, I'm no longer going to be upset. Like, even in the Colts game, like I was disgusted, but I also was like, you know what, like they're just not any good. You know what I mean? Like, just not any good. Whatever. Like, so I'm at a point where if they lose, I'll deal with it. I'd like to see the young players play well. I don't think losing's good if you want Garrett Wilson to not request a trade if they finish with 3 wins and lose the next 6 coming out of the bye week here. I don't think that's good. But I think ultimately, if they win, great. I'd prefer the wins to be against Miami. I'd love to stick it to them and hurt their playoff chances. I'd love to stun the Bills. That'd be nice. But, if they lose, fine. It is what it is. For me, I just hope these young players play well. And really, I do want to see what they look like after the bye. I'm expecting them to lose. We know the Jets always lose with more time to prepare, which is a major indictment on how bad this coaching staff is. We all get that. Yes. But part of me is still holding out hope, and it's probably just being a fan, that Rodgers has been playing hurt. The bye week helped him get healthy, and he could look like the guy we thought we were going to get for a lot of this year, that we've seen it in glimpses but haven't seen consistently. I hope we see it. It's unlikely. There's no evidence to support that. But that, at least for this first game coming up, I want Rodgers to play, and I hope he could play well. I'm not counting on it, but that's what I'm looking to see, at least coming out of the bye.
To me, that's it's a lot of rationalizing, to your point, right? You spoil the Bills, you spoil something with the Dolphins or something, that's fun. That's something you can root for. The young players going crazy, right? Garrett, if he breaks the all-time catch record for the Jets, that'd be super cool. Touchdowns, scores, points, things of that nature would be exciting for us in a season that hasn't had a lot of the excitement, unfortunately. Yeah, that's it to me. And I think that's, the proper way to watch everything. But it's hard when these losses happen for us not to flip the other way. It is what it is at this point.
Let's talk about the head coach of this team, Rex Ryan, on the campaign trail, making the rounds. Yesterday in his weekly hit on Barton Hahn, Rex said this.
I look at it this way: blow it up. We're going to blow the opponents up. There's way too much talent on this team to play the way we've been playing, period. And how hard can you get a guy to play? That's the thing. Like, nobody's seen a team going to play the way as hard as this team's going to play in the future. Trust me, if I'm the guy. Trust me. And that's going to be it. That's what's going to separate me from all these other guys you're going to bring in. Your Grudens, your whoever, whatever. Give me a break. They ain't New York Jets. I'm all about the Jets. And the great thing is, all right, yeah, second chance. You get a second chance at it and things like that doesn't happen very often. Yeah, well, when it does, it's usually special. And so we'll find out if I get that chance or not. If not, then, hope they have one hell of a guy in place, because I still want to be a fan of the Jets. I still want to be. But, when I look around, I know nobody's better than me.
Rex Ryan, baby. Being Rex. Love Rex. I question if it's the right move. He's not my number one choice. He's probably not in my top 3 or 4. But I'll take Rex Ryan over a defensive coordinator who's never been a head coach before. That's my thought. And I also have some questions about Rex's staff. In the full interview, I like what he said about modernizing the offense. I keep coming back to the fact his son is on the staff of the best offense in the league, the most creative and probably well-coached offense in the league, the Detroit Lions. Like, I'm sure Rex is seeing what they're doing, being like, that's the offense we need to try and run. Not every team has a Ben Johnson, though. So there's questions. That said, your thoughts on Coach Rex Ryan 2.0 with the Jets?
Come on. How does that not fire you up, man? Like I said, it's for every video, you can see it over my left shoulder. Play Like You Mean It, the Rex Ryan book. It's right there. I mean, I love Rex. We all love Rex. That was our best moments, at least for modern Jet fans, younger Jet fans. That's the best that we've seen was those back-to-back AFC Championship games, injecting excitement and juice for the first time in a long time for the Jets. You went from Eric Mangini, Bill Belichick whispers in the press conference, booyah, I'm not kissing Belichick's rings. Screw that bastard. And then the success that came with it, we're like, okay, that's our guy. Obviously, it ended horribly, and we all want to forget how it ended with Rex, which was a crash and burn of epic proportions. But, Rex, how do you not hear that and want to run through a wall for Rex? So to your point, I'm in the same boat. He's not in my top 3, 4, 5. I prefer, Todd Munkins, Ben Johnson's, Mike Vrabel is a guy that's high on my list. But to your point, if you're comparing him with an Aaron Glenn or something, and you have Rex Ryan that's done it before, I don't know how I don't know how realistic any of the Rex Ryan stuff is. Would Woody Johnson really go back and hire Rex? And I'd have to go back in NFL history. How often has a head coach been a head coach of we'll use the Jets because that's this example, be a head coach of the Jets, leave for a significant period of time and go, oh, Rex Ryan again. I've seen people come back to different spots, obviously retreads, but the same place under the same ownership. I don't know if that's ever happened before. So that'd be incredibly unique. I love what he's saying. He's a mouthpiece for the fans. It'd be fun to see. And maybe there is a world where you get the right head coach. Maybe Mike Vrabel's the guy, although he has his own defense, I'm sure. But where you have a head coach that is confident in who he is and he's his own man. I'd prefer it to be an offensive guy because then you could have Rex, a mad scientist. Rex is a defensive coordinator. He's interviewed and gotten very close twice. The Dallas Cowboys job he almost got as a DC, and he almost got the defense coordinator job with the Denver Broncos with Sean Payton. So he's been close twice. He just wants to get back in the league really badly. You'd have to have the right new Jets head coach for him to exist in there because Rex has made it very clear he wants to be the head coach. So that could cause all kinds of turmoil immediately from the beginning with if things go south, people start whispering in the locker room, I don't know, Rex might be a better head coach, and then all hell breaks loose. But yeah, come on, man. How do you not get excited about freaking Rex Ryan? It's amazing. I don't know how realistic it is, but it would be fun, and that makes our jobs even better.
You tell me it's Rex Ryan as head coach and Brian Dable as the offensive coordinator. I'm in.
Yeah, come on, baby.
That to me is the big hire. I'll say this. I have zero doubt this team is at least 6-4 right now if Rex Ryan is the head coach instead of Jeff Ulbrich / Saleh before that.
Yeah. Again, coaching is, someone said it earlier. It's 100% true. It's all coaching. Look at the talent on this team. We've had shitty Jets years in the past where we go on offense. We're like, we got Jermaine Kearse, freaking Chad Hansen, and these ridiculous players like Jesus. The Jets are not the most talented football team on the field. With this Jets team, every friggin' week, I mean, they have unbelievable talent compared to the opponent, and it doesn't matter. Again, that's debilitating. It's demoralizing as a Jets fan to know that we finally have it all figured out, quote unquote, with all the roster, and then the coaching sucks. Finally, we have everything set up. The quarterback's not delivering. Last year, it's just one thing after another. It's a struggle.
Hit the like button if you're tuning in. We'll take some of your calls here coming up, some super chats coming through the pipeline. This one from Craig in Australia. Boy Green, were you in Adelaide recently? The car in front of me the other day had a registration plate SPL. Currently on the lookout for GDB.
I was not, but apparently, just like Aaron Rodgers was a guy that looks like him that just shows up to games recently. Apparently, there's some handsome bastard running around, cosplaying as Boy Green, and I can only feel honored and appreciative of that. But no, I was not recently in Adelaide, but appreciate you thought of me while you're in Adelaide, seeing what you thought was me. Thank you.
Snowball with a super chat. He says 5 winning seasons and 24 years of ownership. No one's going to sit here and say the Jets ownership group is a good ownership group, but we were around, at least a lot of us were around, when Woody owned the team since 2000 until 2016. They never had back-to-back losing seasons. They did go to the playoffs 6 times. We were just talking about Rex and the 2 championship appearance years. It's the same ownership group, and they're not selling. So you have to hope that even if it's by accident, a broken clock is right twice a day, even a blind squirrel finds a nut, as Steve Asman always likes to say. You have to just hope that they could luck into a competent GM and competent head coach, because that's the only way this changes.
Yeah, the thing that I don't like, though, is like people just say, oh, Woody Johnson's the owner, so we're screwed forever. That's the problem. You're never going to win without it. You mentioned the Knicks example earlier. It's about hiring the right guys, man, and you pair that with the talent, and that recipe results in winning. Woody has won before. It's not as if he's had 24 losing or 25 losing seasons. There's been AFC championships. There's been a division title in 2002. Like, there's been winning. It's about the hires. It's about that. And plus, to be honest, everyone's bitching about Woody. He's not even going to be here for the next 4 years. So, like, he's going to set everything up and then he's going to peace out. So you won't be able to blame Woody for whatever is lacking there from that perspective.
And, like, the thing with Woody is he's never been cheap, or
Right.
They spent money on the practice facility. They spend money on all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, just he's gotten it wrong. He's gotten it wrong.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. You know, the Texans ownership didn't change. They had 3 coaches in 3 years. They had a character coach, a preacher running their organization. They finally got it right with Nick Caserio, who hired D'Amico Ryans. Then they lucked into C.J. Stroud, but they got it right. You know what I mean? Like, the McNair family didn't sell the team, and there were protests about them selling the team when I was in Houston doing afternoon drive down there. So I know everyone hates the Johnson family. I get it. They haven't won, but, like, they're not selling. So it's just like, hope that they could get it right. My big thing is the process, how they get these people in place. Like, who's in the interviews with them? Who's helping them identify the right candidates? I know Gary Myers suggested Curtis Martin. I brought up Pete Carroll. I know that's a name that's been floated out there. The Commanders last year had Bob Myers, who's the ex-Warriors general manager, and Rick Spielman, the ex-Vikings general manager, brought in as consultants. Who's Woody hiring as a consultant or football op guy, whatever the title is, to help him?
Please not Charles Casserly, please no there. That'd be nice. No phone calls from Peyton Manning, please. Please, as long as you don't do those, that should be progress over what we've had the last couple of years.
Please. Good God. Henny in the house. He says, I like Kingsbury. He's been here. He's been here before. Offensive minded, head coaching experience, good with young QBs. We can always find a good DC. I'm open to Cliff, offensive guy. You know, didn't go great in Arizona. It wasn't awful, though. They did make the playoffs. Murray was hurt his last year there. Maybe he wasn't ready to be a head coach. Now he's been a coordinator again, having a lot of success with Jaden Daniels. I'd hire Kingsbury before I'd hire another first-time defensive coordinator who's never done it before.
Yeah, I guess to me it's all about levels because, like, Kingsbury on the surface, he kind of scares me about the volatility where it could blow up. But to be honest, I'd much rather swing on offense and then deal with the consequences. Woody Johnson in his ownership since buying the team in 2000 has had one offensive guy. That's Adam Gase. Now, it sucked. It didn't go well, but you can't be scared of ever dipping your toe in the offensive waters because you've hired Adam Gase once. You have to be willing to get hurt, basically. And, I'd be willing. You know, I have better hopes and options that are there, but if they went offense, it'd be hard for me to complain after everything we've said.
Ladies and gentlemen, comments, questions, super chats. Kyle Clifton with a super chat on your channel. He writes in, if Tyrod or Travis or QBX is competent, then we finish last draft in the middle of next year. Yeah, but you could always trade up. That's always a scenario. Remember, the Jets, when they traded up for Mark Sanchez, were not picking in the top 5. Like, you see,
they picked 17 that year.
You can move up all the time.
And think about all those Jared Goff and Carson Wentz that year. Both of the top 2 overall picks in that draft were traded up for, and they were in the middle of the first round, and they traded up to 1 and 2. So you can, sell your soul to the devil, as we say Namath did for the Super Bowl. You could totally do that for the draft if you have conviction. Like if the Jets said, "Oh, Jaden Daniels is the guy," obviously that already happened, but like, boom, we'll give up a gajillion things to get it. No one gives a shit what the price is if you're right. If you're wrong, of course, it's this big embarrassment. But if you get it right, no one cares.
Likes, subscribers, we need them. Thanks for supporting the show. It's time to take some phone calls. Gusbuster Umbrella Hotline is open. Here we go.
It's G-Fan.
Guess what? I'm still looking for a job, bitches.
It's G-Fan.
I'm just going to rub my hands together all day.
It's G-Fan.
There's a whole lot of DNA on this couch.
Let's hear it for G-Fan.
Look, it's my dead neighbor that I didn't kill.
Every single time, Gator. Jesus Christ, I love it. All right, I'm going to be visiting family for next week. I decided to come back after Thanksgiving on Black Friday, but I'm in the guest room. They got it up nice for me. Got the old school dream catcher.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Old school dresser that I'm not showing off. It's like beat the hell, but like I love the shirt, Jake. My friend sent me a picture of it. He already cleaned it. So when I come home, I can immediately wear it.
All right, your next call has to be you wearing the shirt I sent you, okay?
I'll do a few calls in North Carolina, but I'm going to do my first call home wearing it.
All right, I can't wait.
Great.
Not over my water. 1 second. Good thing I got it on there. I honestly don't think you guys are probably going to hire Rex Ryan, but how funny would it be if he won you guys a Super Bowl? This is for Boy Green first, then Jake.
How funny
Yeah,
would it be?
I mean, it'd be awesome. I mean, it'd be cool. Rex Ryan obviously got close.
I mean, haha, funny, like prove everyone wrong, funny.
It'd be the greatest
I
moment
hear
of my
what you're
life.
saying.
It'd be the greatest moment of my life.
Yeah. And it's just crazy that we had the inverted experiences. The 2009 AFC Championship season, the Jets get on top of the Colts in the first half.
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez pump fake Braylon Edwards
I remember
long
that
touchdown. Dwight Freeney spin sack, and then they failed. They just flopped in the second half. And then the Steelers, the first half couldn't have gone worse. Mark Sanchez fumbled at the end of the first half. It was awful, and they make this crazy rally in the second half. If you combine the first half and second half of those performances, the Jets are in the Super Bowl. Of course, we can't do that. So it'd be cool for Rex to be the promised child and deliver the once promise he had 15 years ago. Yeah, that'd be super cool.
You could break the name of curse, the
Sure.
soul-making curse, whatever people say. I honestly would have liked, back then, I would have liked the Jets versus Saints more because it would have been more entertaining and would have been more defensive battle. But then Bounty Gate was back then, so
Right.
I don't know. I would have feared for Mark Sanchez's safety back then if I knew what I knew now.
Oh, okay. Right.
But I'm hoping you guys win one. Like, I understand what you guys went through this year.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping you guys win one soon. Because my team, the way we look, we ain't gonna three-peat. But I'm like, if it's if there's a new team coming out of being a new let's say the next Patriots, I wish it upon you guys. Because at least New Yorkers know how to party.
Oh,
All right.
Wow.
Now, Chiefs fan, let me ask you this. What's the latest with your job situation? Where do we stand?
Currently, looking into moving either to Chicago or North Carolina during the spring. So right now, I'm just going to pick up side gigs that just do yard work in the winter and fall because there's a lot of leaves to rake, even though my back and my knees are screwed. And there's a lot of snow that you can shovel. Like literally, like you can do like this. I like the South Park kids do: knock on the door, name a price, shovel the snow.
Okay.
That's what they did. But Cartman would just sit there and do nothing and text on his phone the whole episode.
Now I have a question for Boy Green. Boy Green, if you needed someone to shovel your driveway from the snow, I know you're in upstate New York. Obviously, it snows a lot.
We do.
Would you hire Cheats fan for the role? Would you trust him?
I mean, the
thing I'm a little worried about is there's a lot of this, not a lot of this. You know.
Well, all you literally have to do is give me a thing of hot cocoa, and I'll be out there working. Because I lived in Chicago, I would shovel snow, and that for a side gig.
Oh, so you'd shovel for a cup of hot cocoa? Well, okay, done.
I mean, I would shovel for a cup of hot cocoa and a few dollars because I knew what I knew what it was like growing up poor. So,
you just increased the price. I thought we agreed on the cup. Now we're worth some shekels too.
I mean, that $5 could go towards more hot cocoa. I'm not supposed to be drinking that during the holiday season because I'm a pre-diabetic, but I like to have a cup every once in a while.
Okay, I respect
But
it.
I'm really hoping you guys finish off the season strong or have something good. I'm hoping your Knicks can do. I don't know if you're a Knicks fan. Hopefully your Knicks can do strong. But I know this is a football show, but can we just sit there and laugh at the 76ers real fast because I think it's funny.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let's laugh at them.
Yeah, screw the 76ers.
We're fans of rival teams. We can still poke fun at a rival.
I like it. Yeah, F the 76ers, those bastards.
They threw Allen Iverson's career away. They could have did some things with him. But I'm hoping you guys at least enjoy yourself for the Thanksgiving. You guys have a good Thanksgiving, and this game, these next two games are gonna be good enough for you as Jet fans. But if at least you have an excuse next Sunday to eat as much leftovers and drink.
Thank
as
you, Chiefs
want.
fan.
God bless.
Yeah. I haven't been on the show for a while, but I'm gonna try to be on more shows on my vacation. But I just really, really hope just something positive out of it in this season. You never know. This coach might be able to turn it around and might do something, but or they might just give him back his DC job. But
I'm not sure, but I'll say this, Chiefs fan. You have a wonderful Thanksgiving if I don't talk to you, all right?
I will. Oh, I'll be back on during the weekend.
You got it.
It's Chiefs fan.
Guess what? I'm still looking for a job, bitches.
It's Chiefs fan.
I'm just going to rub my hands together all day.
It's Chiefs fan.
There's a whole lot of DNA on this couch.
Let's hear it for Chiefs fan.
Look, it's my dead neighbor that I didn't kill.
What a call from the great Chiefs
love
fan
that.
there, huh?
One of a kind. That's amazing.
One of my favorite moments of the show was when he told you that he had COVID. Do you remember this?
No.
It was, I think it was over the summer, and
Okay.
he called in, and I just remember you were infatuated by what you were hearing from Chiefs fan that day.
He's a unique individual. I mean, the calls have been legendary. There's no question about it.
I believe this was the moment it happened.
One of my first cards was in the '90s. The quarterback who went down with the ACL.
What was the hand for? I don't understand. It sounded like that was part of the story.
Oh, I do that.
You look like you have a massive hand.
No,
I mean, that's impressive, I guess.
ADHD, Bren. That's something that
What does it have to do with your hand?
Us 90 kids do a lot of dumb shit. But all I know is I studied the Jets quarterback play over the years, and then that's what I started to do as a kid, and then I got into football.
Maybe it wasn't that clip, but that was a different clip.
That one was a funny one because he just randomly he was telling a story and he just went like this, and I'm like, what did that have to do with the story? And then he said, us 90 kids do dumb stuff, and then I just started to what does that mean? It felt like the Dwayne Wade of it felt like that. That's funny. I haven't seen that one. That's a good one.
All right, a couple of housekeeping items here. First things first, Kyle Clifton says the Chiefs fan intro comes on and I get legit chills. Well, you got it as an intro and an outro today, Kyle.
Yes, very nice.
So enjoy. Board Fat just exploded onto the scene with memberships. He threw 10 on yours, 5 on mine. Board Fat, thank you for supporting our channels. We couldn't do it without you, man. This is for you, baby. Sound the alarms. All right, if you hear your name called, these are from Board Fat, Multiballs, Drew Bomogrants, Green Team, Dimas Morales, and Seconds 84, all receiving memberships. I don't have the names for your channel, Paul, so feel free to shout them out if you have them.
Yeah, I got him. Jetwing 67, AZ Jets, Mr. Fulton Mraz, Orlando GNYJ, EJ, Mercy Fate, Vero Beach NY Jets, FPP, Mark Ferraro, TB. You are all now members to the Boy Green Coffee Club, baby.
Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. All right, we'll continue here. Nick Sean, I appreciate the super chat here towards breakfast, a little bacon, egg, and cheese tomorrow. Thank you, sir. Steven with a super chat. If only the Jets franchise was a great team as you. Salute. Thank you, Steven. We talk about this. The Jet fans that support all these different great creators on YouTube, I mean, we all deserve better, but it's unreal how a team that has not made the playoffs since 2010 could have a fan base as great as this one.
Yeah, even with all the losing, we're getting the super chats and memberships and stuff, like the playoff run or something of that nature. I could imagine the buzz that could be created in Jets YouTube content creator land. But even when things are shitty, we're providing this content. It's cool that fans have supported us in this way. It's amazing.
Jaden doesn't like your takes. He says, boo, Boy Green, tomatoes.
Yeah, that's. I'm going to be honest, Jaden, you're not the first person that have thrown either virtual or literal tomatoes at my take. So I appreciate the consistency and keeps me humble. Thank you.
More of your calls. Let's say hello to the Hamburger who's next. Hello, Hamburger.
What's up, Big? How you doing?
I'm living the dream, Hamburger. The Jets are 3-8. It's never been better.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, I know I promised something for everybody. So, Boy Green, you get to witness this firsthand. So, since everybody says I look like the guy from Pearl Jam, I'm going to sing a song for you guys. In honor of a win in my eyes on the bye week. So, Here you go. Here's some Pearl Jam Black.
All right.
If it sounds really bad, just let me know, right?
All right. Let it rip.
What's up, Nets Maniacs? I even got a smoke machine.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Look at this nightclub.
I can't hear anything. I don't know what's happening right now. It's a bigger disaster than the Jet season. Look, Hamburger, you're trying. I respect it. It just doesn't feel like it's gonna work. So let's pivot and let's have Robert C. sing instead.
Ready? Everybody mute yourself. Mute yourself.
Light of dawn's early light. What so proud that we hail? We're so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land and of the free and the home of the brave.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, there it is. That's what we
I
needed.
think we missed a few lines in the national anthem there, but I love that. That's beautiful.
A tremendous performance. Open phone lines if anyone wants in on the conversation here. We tried with the hamburger karaoke. The audio wasn't working, so we pivoted to a little Robert C. Hamburger, you're still there.
Yeah.
Have you figured out what the issue was?
No. I guess it just didn't come through. Maybe it's the sound system's too loud for it. I'm not sure. You hear me now, right?
We hear you fine, yeah.
Yeah. No, I have no idea, man. That's why I'm glad you cut out, but everything was good on my end. I'm going to have to figure out a different way maybe, so next time.
All right, we'll give it a shot another time, but great job out of you. I appreciate the effort.
Hey, man, I tried. We'll go give it a shot next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great hamburger. If anyone else wants in, last chance. Robert C. is watching. He says, thank you, guys. You're welcome, Robert. Great performance.
Love
Great
Robert.
performance. Robert C., dark horse contender in the Asmaniac Madness in March.
He should be. I mean, Robert has been, I don't know how many times he calls in, but every time he does, it's legendary.
Alan taking a shot at Hamburger, saying he's going from number 1 to number 22 this month in the power rankings.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's overreactionary.
That's strong. We got another legend on the line. You want to talk about a Cinderella run, all right, in the tournament? Let's say hello to David, who's next. Hey, David.
Hi, Jake. I don't mean to be a pain in the butt, but I love your show. I love the Jets, and you guys are really good at what you do and so informative. I thought I knew a lot about football until and then you get, other than the outside reporters and all that kind of stuff, we get the real Jet stuff, and that's what I'm all about.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Sure, yeah.
My thing is, as far as the coaching, and you guys really explained everything. There are a lot of talent on the team. We have our draft picks. The what concerns me is Woody, but and that's why I had called in yesterday and said about Rex Ryan. But you had said like Mike Vrabel. And I think you used the word autonomy. Is that like complete control?
Full autonomy. Yeah, I would allow Mike Vrabel to pick the GM he wants to work with. I think he's that good of a coach.
Yeah, I mean that would be that just might be a way that they could get him. And I just don't believe that the Jets are an unattractive pro football team job. My father used to say, "Jealousy will get you nowhere." You know what I mean? Could you imagine being the coach of the New York Jets?
I can't imagine it, but I hope they hire someone that can do it, David. Have you thought about coaching the Jets?
No, I was I took a walk today. I was trying to play general manager, but no, yeah, I don't have the no, I don't have the credentials to be the coach.
Now, David, are you a close talker in real life or only when you call it on the show?
The reason I think I had said to you yesterday, the reason I had the phone up to my no, wait, I'm sorry. What was the question?
I think you answered it. Good call, David.
Yeah, I hold the phone up to my face because of I don't have my contact lenses in. I'm dealing with an eye irritation, so give my eye a rest. And I mean,
Is it good for your eye to hold the phone that close to your face?
I don't know. That's a very good question. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But if it puts me in one of the categories of your top 25 callers, I welcome it in.
Well, I'll tell you what, David. I don't make the list, but the committee that puts it together, you're going to be very high this month.
Oh my God, the comment section. No, we're a little closer to get an eye exam. I could tell that eye irritation was in eye number left. Oh my God,
David's great. I can't wait to see his rise, man. He's George Mason in 06 all over again. He's going on a run.
It's a beautiful story.
Because he's only called in a couple times. Like he's been a long time watcher, he said, but he only just recently started calling a couple days back.
Well, quality over quantity. He is searching. He is surging in the polls.
Hit the like button if you haven't already on either my channel or Boy Green's channel. We need some memberships. We'll shout you out if those come through. I have Gator working on a sexy Rexy emoji, so we'll get that once we hit a new membership threshold. Let's see. Sam says, Jake always says George Mason. He must have been really impressed by the GM you were on. Well, that's when I was like really starting to get into like the tournament every year, like 06.
Oh, okay.
2006.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I think that was 06, George Mason, right?
Oh, are you talking about the championship year?
Yeah, the year that George Mason went to the Final Four.
Yeah, let me go check that.
Whenever it was.
See. Yeah.
I could use a more recent example. He could be this year's VCU.
Oh, there you go. Wow, that's that's some current material there. There you go. There you go.
What's the school Sister Jean was at? Loyola Chicago?
Yeah, you're right. So 2006, you nailed it, Jake. That was the Final Four run there. So that was their only trip ever to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four, and they haven't been back since.
Yep.
So wow, there you go.
That's Maniac Madness, baby. We now have a drop.
Come on, that music gets you every time,
Let's
man.
go,
I'm so
baby.
ready.
More of your calls right now. Steven's next. What's up, Steven?
Evening, man. Evening. How are you guys?
Well,
living the dream, Steven. How are you?
I would like to say, as a Jets fan, seen better days. I first started watching this franchise back in Ken O'Brien and Al Toon, and I've seen a lot of crap. Been a long road, gentlemen.
Yeah.
The question I have for you is, I understand that, fans want to see, the splashy coaches and things like that. But I look at possible general managers, the coaches that all the fans want. Would you want a real general manager to want those coaches like Gruden, like Rex? Or would you want them to pick their own coach, of course, with knowledge that, New York City's a tough place to play at and tough place for the media. What do you guys think on that?
Boy Green, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the natural order is normally picking the GM first, then the head coach. Now, sometimes if the name's big enough, obviously Woody had a hard on for Harbaugh forever, but it didn't line up. To your point, Jake, you said it earlier that Saleh could have been fired last offseason. We couldn't really have squinted twice if they just cleaned house last offseason. That probably would have led to the Harbaugh that Woody wanted forever, and who knows who the GM would have been, which would have been super interesting. But most of the time it's GM, then head coach. But sometimes you get a really big name and you go head coach first. But no, I'm anticipating, again, if we get that director of football ops, hire the GM, and then they find the head coach. And normally they have some sort of ties or connection to whoever that head coach is. So I don't think it's going to work the reverse way.
Yeah, look, I feel like they're going to end up hiring the GM first, but through back channels, if Vrabel's their target and he's interested in it.
Right. Who does he like? Who are GM guys that he'd work with?
Right.
Correct.
And this is where his agent comes in to start lining that stuff up. That's how that works behind the scenes. That's why you do this now with Joe Douglas, so you get a head start in trying to plan for all this.
Right. 100%.
PBM, he's next. What's up, Mike?
What up? If you can make one move no matter what for the both of you in the offseason, what do you guys want to do? As far as bringing in somebody or a player?
Mike Vrabel's my head coach. Done.
Okay. Todd Monken's my head coach. Done.
Yeah, okay. Head coach for both of you. So there's really no players out there that's really.
This is not a player
big.
problem. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, are we being unrealistic? I want Patrick Mahomes to be the Jet quarterback next year.
No. I said that's available. Not
okay.
not
Yeah.
unrealistic.
So I think this is a coaching problem. I think that's the problem with this team. There's other problems, like the quarterback's not playing great. He's old, but how do you get this team consistently on track? I mean, the Steelers have never had these great quarterbacks since Big Ben retired, and they're good every year.
Yeah, a GM thing I would do is Will McClay is down there in Dallas. Not a lot of people know about him, but he is like the secret brains behind the operation, behind the craziness of Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. I love Will McClay, and hopefully he eventually wants his own opportunity as a GM. I'd go blank check at Will McClay to get him away from Dallas and take him over for the Jets. That's a GM job. But yeah, kind of what Jake said with all the player stuff. There's no really good quarterbacks. They all stink, or it's Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold, Derek Carr gets cut, maybe. Like, all those guys suck, so there's nothing there. And then the draft doesn't have an Arch Manning in it that we understand, at least at this point in November. So it would probably always be, at least for me at this point, a head coach GM thing if I got my magic wand wish because of the lack of players that are available.
What about the Vikings VP of personnel, Ryan Graham
Grigson.
or whatever?
Yeah, Ryan Grigson.
Him. And then he brings in Todd Bowles.
Everyone
How'd you
could get
feel
a
about
second
that?
whack at it, but I've heard really bad things from Colts people way back in the day when he got fired the first time. He was an executive of the year in 2012, but Mike Bickagner was an executive of the year in 2015. That doesn't really say one way or the other for me, a great pounding of the table. So he can learn from some of the mistakes he made in Colts land, but I don't love it.
The reason why I like him is because he had Justin Jefferson as the best wide receiver in the draft. And they got him, I think, at 18. And
I think it's
turned out that he
22,
was
actually,
right.
because it was him and Eagles back-to-back, 21, 22. They went Jalen
22.
Reagor. They got him at the next pick. I think he was 22.
Yeah, so far down, and look what he turned out. So I guess who knows? There's no exact science, but I figure, we'll see what happens. Hopefully they make the right decision instead of the wrong decision.
You're gonna be watching every step of the way, Mike. You're addicted. You love the pain.
I hope so.
You need it.
Oh, man, this team. All right, fellas. Have a good night.
Also, spread the word to the company, Mike. Every Sunday till the end of the year, I'm on ESPN New York. We're doing a Black Friday shift, and then I already told you about the morning drive the week of Christmas.
Wait, you're doing every weekend?
Pretty much. Well, I've been on most Sundays during the year when there's not a conflict with like the Mets at the end of the regular season and then the Knicks or Rangers. But yeah, pretty much every Sunday I have my schedule here. I'm pretty much on ESPN New York from 4 to sometimes it's 8, like this Sunday, or like next week it's 4 to 5:30 before a Knicks game, before a pregame starts. So, but yeah, every Sunday you'll hear me on ESPN New York pretty much, plus Black Friday and all of Christmas week.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, cool. I'll spread the
baby.
news.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate
Peace.
you. For those who don't know, Mike runs or he's a part of the company, which if you're an ESPN New York listener, they're a bunch of diehard fans of the station, and they call themselves the company.
I love it.
Yep. Ace of Spades super chat says Monken looks the part and get a Raven to GM. Yeah, if you got the Ravens assistant GM and then you paired him with Todd Monken, you could do a lot worse than that. Monken, to me, he's not like the boy genius type because he's 58. He's seasoned. He's been around. He's been in a bunch of different
genius.
offenses.
Yeah, there you go.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll take my chances with Todd Monken if you tell me. Because if you're going to do the first-time coordinator that's never been a head coach, you know what I need? I need a guy on the offensive side of the ball if we're going to play that game. And if I can't get Ben Johnson, I think Todd Monken would be number 2 on my list.
Yeah, and he makes me feel a little bit better about the first time thing because, like, Ben Johnson's in his late 30s, so his first time thing, you could swing the Bobby Slowicks of the world, you could swing him as really bad on those younger guys. Todd Monken's been an offensive coordinator in 6 different stops, and he's done it with all kinds of quarterbacks, from Stetson Bennett to Lamar Jackson, who was obviously high on the hog, but he did it with Jameis Winston in Tampa Bay early in his career. So, like, man, he has just had dominating offenses with all kinds of different quarterbacks and schemes and systems. That makes me feel really good. That's why I'd want him.
Nick Shine writes in, make David call in every show. David's actually still on hold. David, can you start calling in every show?
I was going to say something. I'm careful what you wish for because I'm so addicted to your show.
Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely would. And Nick's a cool guy. I mean, you guys, you have so many cool people affiliated with, the Jets fan group there,
David, we know, all right. Best fans in sports, the Jet fans.
Yeah, and I would really get that looked at. That left eye looks incredibly infected and swollen. I would definitely get that checked out.
Did he say he has an infection or it's an irritation? I forget what he said.
It appears to be infected. I mean, that thing, I'd get that. I'm not a doctor, but
I'm definitely not either. But I feel like doing this to call in is probably not the best strategy.
I guess it's at the best angle. That's a touche. That's
just an idea. Hit the like button. Open phone lines if anyone else wants in on the conversation. Hamburger says my eye is itchy now.
Yeah, they say that's like a mind over matter thing. You start seeing something like, oh, hey now, boop, boop, boop.
Bill M says he just moved to number 1. Wow. Now Bill's not on the committee, but I'm curious with Tom Ace, Boomtown, Rich. I mean, these are the people who make the monthly power rankings.
I like that. I'm looking forward to it. There you go, baby. November Madness.
Ladies and gentlemen, he has called in. The great Robert C. is next. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Jake. It turns out my computer, I have an old Chrome computer that can't update since 2014, and the page went blank. I mean, StreamYard comes up blank now. I've had it with Facebook and some other pages. So it will no longer say StreamYard. I mean, that's what happens. Then I have to call him. It's not as good. But I wanted to read the national anthem because I missed a few verses. So let me know. So I'm going to try to send it to you.
Robert, you're struggling right now.
Yeah.
With connection-wise. Is there any way you could call back and see if that makes it any better?
It's a phone.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Boy Green. He said he was going to redo the national anthem because he recognized
it sounded like it. Because, like
words.
I said, he missed several verses. I was like singing it in my head as he was doing it, and then all of a sudden, whoop! We missed a large chunk of the national anthem in the middle there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he calls back in, I would love to give him a chance to sing the anthem again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're all about patriotism on this show.
Of course. Yeah. America. Yeah.
Henny says this show's like an Adam Sandler movie. We tried.
Tip of the cap. Thank you.
I mean, Adam Sandler's a Jet fan. Can he buy the Jets? I don't know
that'd be awesome. He's got the money. He's got to have like $1 billion or something. Yeah.
Also, apparently, Robert, his mic blew out some people's eardrums. So I apologize to those watching live or after the fact.
Sorry.
Tom May says Robert C. gave us the Cliff Notes version of the anthem.
Oh, I see. Spark Notes. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
I will try this again with Robert C. Robert, do you hear us? Robert? Bob? Does he know he's on the air?
I don't know.
Bob? Robert? Gone. Maybe we'll try again.
Yeah, perhaps. Again, I'm all for patriotism. Yeah.
Man, there's no one else on the line. I plan to do a clean 90 minutes, so we got about 7 minutes left if anyone wants in on the conversation here.
Sure.
Oh, hold on. We got someone on the line right now.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this guy called earlier, gave us a rant for the ages. I'm surprised he has any more energy left.
The biggest mistake they made is not firing this whole crew of shitheads before the season started. The coaches can't make decisions. They don't correct anything. I mean, this is a joke. Guys, hey, Green Bean, Jake.
Hey, what's up, Peter?
Green Bean. Green
Am
Bean.
I close enough?
You got the wrong guy with the beard.
It's Green Bean, isn't it?
No, it's Boy Green.
Boy Green, but okay.
It's all
I get
the
names
same.
mixed up.
It's a game of Scrabble. I appreciate that. What's up, Peter?
Well, who do you think as far as the head coach? Who do you like?
I like Todd Monken. I like Mike Vrabel. Give me an older guy that's been around the block.
Okay. How about Brian Flores? You don't like him?
I think he's kind of a dick, and the handling of players scares the shit out of me. The beef with Tua, with the quarterback, and people could call Tua soft, and they have. That doesn't spell well if he gets the wrong young quarterback in there. Because what's the plan for the Jets? Maybe he'd ride it with Rodgers, but if he gets a young quarterback in there and he just doesn't like him, I'm a little afraid of how that turns out.
Why would you be afraid of that? I'd be glad if he didn't like him and he got him out.
Who?
Flores.
Rodgers you're talking about?
No, Flores, if he didn't like the quarterback and he took him out. You know, and the quarterback was playing lousy like Zach Wilson for the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah, I'm not talking about accountability. I'm cool with that. I just mean, like, he apparently told Tua he sucked every day, and then Tua sucked, and then Flores ended up getting fired. So, like, it all spun out of control. Accountability, sure. Yeah, I want him to keep his shit together, just like that's why I said Vrabel was high on my list of a guy who's not going to have bullshit. But that's the thing that makes me nervous a little bit, is that he doesn't seem to have a great relationship with players as a head coach.
How about Grable and his connection with Belichick? You think Belichick will talk him out of coming here?
Probably, because that's going to be, I would imagine, one of his first calls. Hey, Belichick, what do you think of the Jets? And I can only imagine Belichick's going to tell him a lot of shit about the Jets, which could turn him off.
I don't know how close those guys actually are. Like, he played for him, yes, but he never coached under him. Like, Vrabel's close to the guys at Ohio State. He's close to Urban Meyer. He's close to Bill O'Brien. At least, like, Bill O'Brien hired him as his DC for a year, and then he became a head coach in Tennessee. Like, we all just assume Vrabel wouldn't take this job, but one, you got to try, and he wants power and control, and the Jets would give him that. So,
sure,
I don't know. And honestly, like, okay, Belichick tells him not to take it, but the Jets might give him the best opportunity. We don't know that. I don't know if all these, like, what team's hiring Mike Vrabel? We don't know.
He didn't get hired last cycle, so that's worth mentioning.
I'd love to get Grable.
You know, it's Vrabel, though, Pete, right? It's not Grable.
Yes, but I actually think he's a real good coach. Anybody that can win with Tannehill is pretty good, because Tannehill's not that good.
Yeah, he went to an AFC title game with him. He won 9 or more games in 4 of his 6 years. He hired 2 offensive coordinators that then became head coaches. Like, he's got a good resume, the best you're going to find of anyone that's potentially available.
I just hope that Woody makes the right choices, you know. And you can't blame Woody for what's been going on with the Jets. He brought in Devontae, Reddick. He got everybody they wanted. And these guys can't coach anybody. They can't coach anybody up. They can't scheme up the offense. They can't do anything. If you wasted all that money, how mad would you be? I would have thrown them all out the door too. I mean, they gave Rodgers $50 million. The year before, Lazard $150, whatever he got, $144 million.
Aaron Lazard did not get $144 million. Now, you gave me what would be the equivalent of that with your $500 super chat about Lazard. But Lazard did not sign for $140 million.
Jake, you deserve it. You're the best.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it.
But you're not. You gotta. How many players did he take in? He took in Turner. He took in Lazard. He took in who's that other stiff? Oh, Grable. Not Grable. Randall Cobb. Oh my God. I mean, come on. And then this year it was Devontae Adams. All right. Devontae Adams is a good player, but we needed him in the beginning of the year, not in the middle of the year. The same as Reddick. Reddick, we didn't need him in game 5 or 6. We needed him in the start to be there. I mean, a total disaster. How would you feel if you were Woody and you owned this team and you saw that and you had these guys running the team, and then the kicker gets taken by Kansas City? What was Joe Douglas doing? Sleeping?
Yeah.
Probably. I'd be pretty pissed too. So I don't. Woody might be. I think he gave them everything they wanted, and they didn't perform. And I don't blame him for what he did. And as far as him saying that Rodgers should have been replaced, what game was that? That was the Denver game. After the Denver game, he should have been. They were probably talking and saying, "Oh man, he took a beat. Maybe we should take him out." And meanwhile, they turn it into something else. I don't think he's that bad. I mean, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he needs somebody in there that does. He hired Joe Douglas to do that, and he didn't do it. He had 5 years. Salah had 4 or 5 years. He stunk. I would have fired Salah after the Seattle game 3 years ago when that team was unprepared, where they could have went to the playoffs if they won that game. And they were never prepared for any big game. The following year, they go to Miami and do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're never prepared for a game. The coaching staff is just horrendous. It's just horrendous. And you two guys are great. I watch Boy Green. I watch him in the morning, very early.
There you go.
And,
Thanks, man.
Jake later. But it's mostly all as maniacs on your show, too.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
You're both very good.
Thanks,
I enjoy
Peter.
you. Thank you for doing what you do. You're great guys.
Peter, you're the man. We love you.
Furline, he stinks. Get him out of here. Aaron Rodgers, he's as bad as Simeon. He's not going to get better. He's 41 with a bad leg. He's terrible.
Peter Castro, one of the greats.
Wow.
One day he'll learn Mike Vrabel's name is Mike Vrabel.
Yeah. And hey, I don't mind getting called Green Bean. That's a legendary class right there. Call me Green Bean as much as you want, pal.
He confused the beards that both of you present.
That makes sense. There's green in both of the names. There's beards. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Makes total sense. What a show this was, Boy Green. I know it's been a couple of weeks because you had a baby, you had a hernia, but I'm glad you're doing well and that you're able to join us again, hopefully on future Fridays throughout the remainder of the season here.
Yeah, long overdue, Jake. Adam Sandler movie, whatever we're doing here on a week-to-week basis, awesome. It's so friggin' cool. I love this show. I love all the callers. We always have a good time. So yeah, baby, let's keep it rolling.
Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Please subscribe to my channel or Boy Green's YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like the videos. It helps us as content creators get the YouTube algorithm to show our videos to more people and thus allow the show and our shows, of course, to continue to grow. His name is Boy Green. My name is Jake Asman. I plan to do a Saturday show at some point tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend if I don't hear from you. But, of course, if you want content, check back to my channel and Paul's channel as well. JETS, 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 Jets.
Charles, you watched the debate last night?
Yes, I did.
What were your thoughts?
I'm not a fan of the guy who's in office, and I'm not a fan of RFK.
Sounds like you're a Trump guy, if I'm interpreting that right.
You could pretty much say that.
Please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore.
Some of your calls actually remind me of our president last night. Your mama told me that your last name was Gormani, but it was changed to Gorman at Ellis Island.
You never talked to my mom.
You don't know that.
My last name is Gorman, not Gormani. I'm 7/8 Italian and 1/8 Irish.
Gormani changed the Gorman at Ellis Island.
Didn't know about that.
See?
Right, definitely.
It's good talking with you, Bobby. Are you doing another show today or no?
Yeah, after the 6:30 show, I'm going to do my show. Nice to talk to you, Charles.
Take care, Bobby.
You talk to Alan, but you can't talk to me. Oh, thank you. Stop that freaking noise. Stop. Stop farting. Stop with that farts.
What's up, fellas?
Come on. What are you doing?
You're in trouble now, Jake.
Hi, Mr. Bones. How you feeling today? How's the little kids doing?
I can't concentrate. Jake.
Been a pimple on my ass all morning so far.
He's playing extra fart sounds, so we gotta.
You're ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, you got one more call? You got enough for one more call? Look at Jake, he's laughing. I've been waiting in the back. You put that guy on. Who is he? You're ridiculous. Yeah. So how you doing, Robbie Sable?
Good. What's up, buddy?
No, goodbye, Bobby. See ya.